Welcome to the Disrupted Podcast. I'm your host, the Dr. Mateo Franco. I always say we're one disruption, one interaction away from a whole different experience of this thing called life, whether we're stuck, whether we're happy with where we're at and just looking for more. We're always just one interaction, one disruption, one choice away from a whole different experience of this thing called life. If you guys are listening to this, make sure you go to the Mateo Franco DC on YouTube and like and subscribe. Let's get to it.
You know, people are like, you're just super creative. I'm like, I have the same box though. I just get into the box a different way.
Right.
That's all. And so, yeah, I'm like, I don't care. I'm just posting everything.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to write that down real quick. You said I don't want to be well known. I just want to be known well.
Yeah. The goal isn't to be well known. It's to be known well.
Yeah, that's good.
Because 1.5 million followers, 1.2 million views, that's all great. But how many conversations? Right. And how many of those conversations came into relationships? And how many of those relationships actually bought the shoes, got the loan, came for chiropractic care, reached out for coaching, whatever it is, right?
Right.
None of those views matter. Unless you're just trying to be the influencer avatar, which I'm not, right? That's not I want to be people to know who I am so that they know, like, and trust me, right? And the modern loan officer is to be seen first, then known, like, and trusted. So the way to be seen is through the social media, so they can see me talking to you just as much as they can see me going, hey, did you know there's a new program out that allows you to buy a house with no money down? Like, yeah, I can still be an expert in loans and be an expert in life too.
Yeah. And that's the cool part of is you explaining the process, though. That's like you learn that by starting the process of just creating content, right? Is because you started like with the loans. Like, this doesn't feel, loans obviously ridiculously well, but it's not the whole part of Greg. And you are the niche. Like, that's my favorite phrase. You are the niche. Like, you talking about CrossFit,
Correct.
You talking about like your trips, you talking about how you coach, like all of those
Personal
things.
branding is about you as a person, not just about what you do.
Right. And if people find value in that, then, because the currency is trust, right? If they find value in who you are and you're just being who you are, and you have things that you do or sell, then it opens the door for that. And I think the shoe thing is interesting. So for me, like that was the most, I was having this conversation with Brandy the other day because she grows really fast Brandy's my girlfriend, right? For those of you that are watching it that don't know, as we were talking about, she grows TikTok really fast, she grows Instagram really fast, but my question is how many of those are converting?
Correct.
Right, and that's the thing that I realized by doing the Flux Footwear, the affiliate, which I encourage people that are just starting content to do that if you don't have a background in sales or anything else, because it teaches you what content people value by actually converting. And so for me, I somehow got accepted into the program. Like for me, it was like crazy because I don't have like massive followings on Instagram. I think I have like 700 or something like that. And Facebook I do, I guess, but that's not really my favorite platform. And I was just starting my YouTube. Right? And we just crossed 200. Let's go. But anyways, with that is I'm selling the most shoes out of anyone in the Flux Ambassador program. And people in there have 130,000 followers on Instagram, 70,000, and so for me, it was that big switch of like, it's exactly what you're saying. It's not so much about the followers as the real connection, people really knowing who you are. And then when they're ready to make a decision in an area that you have a connection in, they're only going to you.
Yeah, like if I trust you, here's another thing too. Like in my business, right, we're fee and rate sensitive. Am I the cheapest? No, I never have been, and I don't claim to be. Am I the fastest? No, never have been, never claim to be. But I will work for you, find you the best deal that I can give you the best service, close on time, all those things, right? All things I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And so if I find people that are attracted to me because we share the same values, price isn't as important. Mm-hmm. Right? So like if the shoe is a good shoe or a great shoe, and I trust you and we have liked values and beliefs, then I'm probably going to buy the shoe.
Right.
Right? And so I always use my buddy as an example. He does HVAC. And when I built my house, I went to him to get a bid. And I said, okay, I don't know if we're going to stay in the house or if we're going to build it and just stay in it for 2 years and sell it. We really don't know. That was the goal originally. And he said, okay, well, I'm going to give you two packages. One would be the package that if you weren't going to stay in it. The other one's the package, like if it was my house, this is what I would do. I said, great. He brought me in. He showed me all these things on how AC works. Like, I don't know anything about anything. Put it up on a big screen TV. He showed me what, by the way my windows face and the spare rooms, why I would need this kind of a unit, what that unit would do, how much it produces, the this and the BTUs and the CSFs and all these things, right? Like way above my pay grade for HVAC. But I respected the fact that he showed it to me because I am a data junkie, so I could make it make sense on what he was talking about, on why I would need something of this caliber. I didn't ask about price. I didn't get 3 bids. I didn't, like, he's my buddy. He adds an immense amount of value to my life as just a person, as a friend. And then this is what he does, right? And so I don't know if it was, I do know he's probably not the cheapest in town. Like, I do know that. But their customer service level is hands down above and beyond anybody else in town. That's why they're the biggest as well. They've grown it to a huge company. And so, like, you're going to pay for that service, right? And, like, if my thermostat goes out, I text him. I don't call service. I'm like, hey, bro, I don't know what happened here. And he starts laughing. Okay, try this, try this. If not, I'll get a tech out there, right? Because it's just the relationship that we have. And so he does the same thing with me. Like, his parents were going to get a loan, and one time they came to me, and then they ended up going to their bank. No big deal. I'm cool. They needed another loan. They came in and they said, look, Jamie said, no matter what, like, we're using you. So, like, just tell us what to do. And I said, okay. We went through the whole process, figured out what goals they wanted, and I go, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm not the best fit for you. If this is what you're looking to do, the bank where you bank at, where you do your personal banking, is going to give you a way better deal, and it's going to make way more sense for you to do that. It was like a home equity line of credit, which we're not great at. If it was a regular loan, I'm your guy, but it's not. And they're like, are you sure? Like, no, Jamie said we had to use you. Like, you know, we're going to get in trouble. Like, if we don't, I go, I'll call Jamie and let him know, like, this is not, using me is not in is not in any of our best interests. But that was the loyalty, right? Like, that was the stuff that was set there. So then, because they'll say, like, price is irrelevant if the value's there. It just is.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Or there wouldn't be Michelin star restaurants. Like, nobody's going to go buy a $1,500 bottle of wine if the $2 chuck is just as good. It's not just as good.
Right. It's the key word that you kept saying was value, but it's one of my favorite quotes. In the absence of value, the only consideration is cost. It's literally it. We did the home and garden show last weekend, and we had someone that's walked up. I've seen them every year, but they didn't like our pricing. They're like, when you change your business, then we'll come in. I'm like, we're not looking to serve everyone. If you don't value it that much, we're not the right fit for you. Like, there's plenty of chiropractors that will rack and crack you and do patchwork. Like, if you want to get this fixed, this is exactly what it looks like. This is what it's going to cost you. I can tell you it's only going to cost you more by not doing anything or doing what you're currently doing.
And it's always been that way. Like, you could get a $3 paint job from like Earl Scheib, or you can go to a custom paint shop and it costs you $1,500 for the same car.
Right.
It's like, what's the difference?
And this is my favorite thing, especially, and maybe this happens for you guys too, but in the service industry, and it's starting to, I'm building, this is just what we are. Like, I had to learn that for the first 5 years, 6 months, but it's like, you don't go into Walmart and be upset that they're not serving steak dinners of a 5-star restaurant. Like, you don't go there and do that. But people, when it comes to service industry, they get upset if you don't do what they want you to do. And it's like, we're just not the right fit. These are the people that can do that.
Correct. We're not going to mold our business to you.
What was that?
We're not going to mold our business to every client.
Right.
This is the business. This is the type of client that we serve. And if you're not that type of client, that's not a big deal. I can give you tons of recommendations on where to go.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not too proud. My ego's not too big. Like, no, this is not, I'm not your guy. Like, if you want a home equity line of credit and you can't prove your income, I'm your guy, because your bank won't do that. But if you make all the money in the world and you can prove it all, like, I'm not the person. Mm-hmm. Well, then you don't make any money. You're right. I don't. Yeah. But that's okay.
Why do you think it's so hard for people to understand that, especially like young business owners? Because I was like, I always say for a while there, I was beating my head against the wall, hoping that it would turn into a door, right? But why do you think it's so hard or maybe it's not even hard, maybe it's just a mindset or lens, and I'm sure it is, of why, like, it's okay to send people elsewhere. Like, we don't have to close every deal. Like, why is there value in knowing your identity, knowing the right fit for you, And then what's the value in referring them out versus making more money?
It's just scarcity mindset. That there's not enough. And a lot of people starting out don't have any money.
Right.
So giving something away that you need, it doesn't add up. Why would I do that? Well, because it's in the best interest of your client, which over time, the best interest of all your clients will come back. Right. And so then it's like, hey, in my scenario, hey, go to your bank, get the home equity line of credit. But here's what I know, because I've done this so long. We had a huge phase of home equity line credits in like 2002, 3, and 4. And then everybody got tired of making 2 payments. And then the Fed kept raising the overnight rate, which raised the rate of their home equity line of credit. And then eventually they'd come back and say, how do I get this first and second into one loan? Well, we call that a cash out refi. That's where I make my money. I know at some point in time, 90% of the people that pulled the HELOC won't pay it off. They'll get tired of doing what they're doing. Rates will adjust to something where it makes sense. And then we'll have all these people that are going to want to convert those first and second mortgages into one mortgage. And that's where I come back. If I keep in touch with them, if I keep the relationship, if I keep the conversation going, if I check on them, if I help them through the home equity line of credit with their bank, if all of those things, right? Put them into a drip system where they're getting touched. Reach out to them once a year to do a checkup. Hey, just checking to see if with the mortgage that you have now is the great fit for you and your family. Like, yep, we're good. Awesome. We'll talk to you next year. Drip, drip, drip. Talk to them next year. And then all of a sudden it's like, you know what we've been thinking? We're tired of paying this bank and that bank. How do we get this into one thing? Funny you should ask. And then there it is. Right? Another analogy that I always use is the most sales training I've ever received from a company I'm 50, so working since I was like 13. So out of all those years, the biggest sales training I ever got was from Discount Tire. It was like a week or 10-day sales training program that you have to go through before you can be a full-time tire salesman for them. Right? And so one thing that we always did is they always did free flat repair, regardless. Doesn't matter if you bought the tires from us. Doesn't matter if the tire has a warranty, any of those things. Like if you come in, you have a nail, we're going to fix it for free. Now, a lot of tires can't be fixed. Or it's not safe for them to be fixed, right? And so they teach you, I don't know when I went to their training, 96, 97 probably. Back then they taught you that the life cycle of a person in tires is about $10,000. So each person that walks in that store is worth about $10,000 in tires over their lifetime of purchasing tires. So to give away one free $35 flat repair, or to give them a free set of tires because the tires that they got didn't work, even though they're the tires that they wanted, all of those things. Like we always had to just make it right. That was the goal, was always make them happy. And so we figured out at our store one year that if we would have charged the going rate that the competitor charged for a flat repair, it was something like $500,000 in additional revenue.
Wow.
And that revenue was profit because we are already paid the labor. We already paid for all the supplies, right? We did the flat repair already.
Yep.
So that would have been net to the bottom line, right? And so it's a lot of money, but it's short-sighted thinking. It's a lot of money in that year, but they're looking at the next year, the following year. Because when somebody buys tires, like you buy tires now, and then all of a sudden your girlfriend needs tires, and then all of a sudden you guys get married, right? And then you have kids, and then all of a sudden your kid turns 16, and now your kid needs tires. Right? And so now we have 3 vehicles, and then maybe you end up with 4 vehicles. Out of 4 vehicles, every couple of years, there's tires that are needed. And so it starts to compound, where this is the place that always took care of me.
Right.
Always took care of me. And they're competitively priced. Are they the cheapest? I don't think so. Will they price match? Sure. But like, I'm not a price match guy, and I don't want to do that kind of legwork. That's just where I go because I think they're a great company. They're family owned. They're not public. They're the largest independent tire company in the world. Like they still are. I don't know how many stores they have now, but when I worked there, they had like 300. Like they have to be, 500 or 600 stores by now. And so they treated their employees right. They treated their customer right. And so I don't know what tires cost anywhere else. I go to the website, I order the tire, I drive down, I drop off my truck, I pick it back up.
Right. And then in that model too, like you're going to refer people. That's the other thing that like with what you're saying too, is if you have a great experience, you trust them, you're going to refer people. If you're accepting the wrong people, right, and they have a bad experience, they're not going to refer to you anyways, which is, it's totally, you're right. It is short-term thinking. But
yeah, it's like you said, if the person goes into Walmart looking for a steak dinner and then they're pissed there's no steak dinner, what are they going to say about Walmart? because of their expectation. They're going to tell all their friends, well, don't go there. They suck.
Right.
And unless the friend digs in deeper and says, well, why did they suck? Well, I mean, we went there for a steak dinner and they didn't have a steak dinner. And then if the other friend is like
Competent.
I mean, well, yeah, but most friends have the same values, right?
Yeah.
You don't hang out with people that are completely opposite in values of you. So
Right.
then they're going to be like, oh, well, yeah, well, that sucks. Like they might have one friend that goes, well, dude, you're an idiot. Why would you think they would have a steak dinner there? Like
Yeah.
they sell goods. They don't even, well, they sell food now, but not
Right.
cooked food.
Right.
But for the most part, they're going to be the same type of thinker. And they're like, oh yeah, well, I'm never going to Walmart either. And then they're going to tell their buddy. And then all of a sudden now you have all these negative people when it's like, that wasn't the avatar that you were selling to anyway.
Right.
You can stop them at the door and say, how can we help you? We want to make sure you have the best experience you can have at Walmart today. And you go, well, I'm here for a steak dinner. Like, well, super sorry. We don't serve steak dinners here. But what we could do is we could refer you to Morton's. They have an amazing steak dinner for an affordable price. And then you're like, oh my God, thank you so much. And you leave. It's a completely different experience than walking into Walmart, roaming around for an hour and figuring out that they don't have a steak dinner and leaving pissed off.
Right.
Now you're hungry. You didn't get fed. You have nowhere to go. Right? Where the other route, they wanted to see if they can meet their needs. They couldn't meet their needs. So they referred them to somebody that could. They say, but if you're looking for anything toiletry-wise, appliance-wise, like we're your place, now they go, okay, they go to Morton's. They have a great dinner. They tell their friend, we went to Walmart. They didn't serve food, but they sent us somewhere amazing. And they told us this is what they do well. And now we need a new microwave, so we're going back to Walmart.
Right.
It's like, that's why you tell somebody or refer somebody out. Because if you can't meet the expectation because you don't do what they want, right? But you have that scarcity mindset of losing the client, you lost the client because you didn't give them what they wanted, and they're out bad mouthing you, which is way worse than even getting a referral,
Right.
or losing the business.
Right. It's I like the scarcity mindset to it because it's so true though. Like it is because we've done that. Like we've in the past. Like you accept those people, but also like depending on what you do too. Like those people suck all my energy, and we have the people that actually want what we have and that value what we have. And my energy's sucked over here. So like now it's a completely different process. We just don't even like it's a qualification process. Like and I can't physically adjust everyone. And those things too. So it's like we're looking for the right people, and that's been the biggest transition in this year. Is like, no, I'm looking for 300 of the right people that really value what we do. They believe they're going to get the results, and we also have the data to back it up. But the cool thing about that is the referral part that I'm starting to see come into fruition. Is like they refer because they value what we do. They have, just like you said, friends, family, people that value those same things. That they know what we're about. And then they'll make the connection for us. But I think it's a valuable lesson for young entrepreneurs, business owners, even people in sales. As we were talking,
you spend time working with one person that's not going to be happy when you could have been working with 3 people that will be.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, right? And they have the saying is maybes will kill you in business, right? Yes or no's. Like we don't do maybes. If you want to think about it, cool. Like we'll be here when you're ready, but we're not going to do this back and forth where you take my time. For that. And that's why even for us, all of our procedures now, it's way less time. It is really you're coming here. I can read the intake forms. We have that in advance. You filled them out. Is we need to touch base on what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to solve, the goals. And then really the important part is can we solve your problem? Is it spine related at all? If it's spine related and we know we're going to have a great success rate, then let's get you adjusted. Let's get started with a plan. And if not, then we'll find you a referral.
Yeah.
And like that for us has made like, and in business too, and maybe you had this in the earlier years too, and maybe you still have it, is in the beginning, it's like, man, it took me forever to figure that out, but getting people to that point and creating that value, it's like my life outside of the business is way happier too. Like good energy in the practice.
Less stress.
Yeah. I'm like, the other way, I felt like I was building a coffin for myself.
I think it's always hard. I think it's always something that you're going to... Entrepreneurs in general are in business to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And when you turn people away, you're not accomplishing in the mindset of an entrepreneur. Now you are because you're turning away so that you can do more over here, but that's still hard. And I don't think it ever goes away. I don't think there's like, well, since we're so busy now, we understand that we're busy with all the right people. But if 30 more people walked in and raised their hand and said, hey, I really want to buy your service, like you would still look at it and be like, man, it's hard to turn away 30 people.
Right.
And it's like, hey, okay, well, trust the funnel, put them into the funnel. Do they do this, do that? Okay, well, they don't fit the system. No, we have to move on, right? And so, because I think as you get busier and busier, you attract more and more. And so instead of turning 1 or 2 people a day away, like to turn 30 people a day away would be somebody's light bulb would go on and be like, man, we're turning, like, hold on, maybe we're missing something.
Right.
No, you're not missing something. They just don't fit who you want. And that's okay. And so then you have to look at that. Like, it's still, 30 people times whatever it is per person starts to add up in your brain. Our brains start to do the numbers very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so
the conversion should be higher, right? The no's should be higher. If you're a high value company, should be, in order to get the right yeses, it should be a higher quantity of no's.
it should be, yes.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, then everybody would do it.
Right.
And everybody would be getting yeses.
That's the other thing with being an entrepreneur too, is we want to help, we want to solve problems, right? And you can help a lot of people, but if they don't want to help themselves, then it's a waste of time. And that's the big thing, is if you're not going to help yourself,
in your industry for sure.
right?
Like I see my PT every 2 weeks, and it's the same thing. It's like I can go get stretched, but if I don't do the exercises that I'm supposed to be doing while I'm not there, I'm not going to heal as quickly as I would if I did them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see people go, I go just for maintenance. I don't, because there's always, something can always be worked on.
Right.
So, I don't ever go really because I had surgery, I got a new hip or a new knee. Like I've never had that issue, but I see the people in there.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the same people in there, like for long periods of time. And it's like, yeah, well, because they don't do what they're supposed to do.
Right. And that's okay too. That's what I say. If you want to come in here and get adjusted, you're not going to do anything outside of here. Cool. Like, we can help you. You got to be here. If you're not going to show up, then at that point,
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
there's a strong line. It's either you discontinue or we're not going to talk about pain, because it makes total sense that you're in pain because you don't show up to your appointments. Like, that's a hard boundary for us. Is if you're
Well,
going to
what else is there to talk about? Like, when people do ask, not even advice, but like if you're holding somebody accountable to something, right, and they're not getting the result they want, but they're not doing the action items that it takes to get to the result, like my thing is like, I'm good. You just don't get to complain about it.
right.
You don't get to take up my time. You don't get to schedule time to try to figure out why you're not getting the result you want if you're not doing the actions that we came up with that were supposed to get you the result.
Right.
Right? Because the measuring post is actions, not results.
Mm-hmm.
Because results may vary. Actions don't.
Right. Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's the serious or curious.
Yeah. Yeah. Right?
Are you
Committed
serious?
or interested.
Yeah, it's like I think it was Ramsey that said this. Dave Ramsey said, "If I can get the guy in the mirror to behave, I can be rich and skinny." And so it's funny watching people. And it comes back to, and we've talked about this a lot: wish, desires, those things. But it's always looking at the actions. And I think that's the cool thing that we're creating. We're creating is the data. That's the one thing for me. The validation in the marketplace is obviously profits. People valuing what you do, they're investing their time, energy, and money into you, and also the results. And so the thing that I'm excited for, and this is my last hurrah at the home show, but you meet, and if you've worked any sort of events, right, you get to see all sorts of people. You get the super warm people that love what you do, people that like, we had a lady walk by our booth and she says, "I don't believe in it." I'm like, "That's cool. We don't need you to believe in it. You can choose not to believe in gravity and it's still going to be there. Like, we don't need your validation." And, but it's cool having the data showing like this is just us. Like, it doesn't really matter. Anything outside of our company doesn't matter, whether it's medical doctors, chiropractors, any other service. This is just what we do. These are the results that we deliver for the people that qualify, for the people that have spine related issues. And it's just black and white, 100%.
And then you either want to buy into it or you don't. And that's okay.
Right. Yeah. So, but I think that's been one of the fun parts of this season. And then you just make different connections through content and stuff like that, which has been super fun.
Yeah, and that's the validation for the client, right? Okay, I saw him here. He spoke about this. Now I can go look him up over here, and he has the same message.
Right.
And if the message is congruent, then it's like, okay, well, and there is data to back it up. Okay, what would it hurt me by trying it?
Right. And
If
this
I'm
was
in pain and I want the pain fixed, right? Like,
yeah. It was with the data. It's the saying, right? We don't need to be taught. It's more so reminded. And you know that with the content you're creating, you can create different contexts, but it's going to be the same pillars of messaging throughout.
correct.
I had a patient come in. I talked about like Miss Susie, the lady that chases. Miss Susie's our example patient that chases symptoms, right? And then she comes in and expects us to chase symptoms, right? And I always ask the question: if so far everything that you've done, every doctor you've been to, chase your symptoms, and you haven't gotten the result that you want, if you continue to do that, what is that the definition of it? It comes back to insanity, right? And the same thing. One of the ladies that came in, she's like, I don't know if that's me as the patient or not. And instead of saying you're not that patient, it's like we're all Miss Susie at some parts in our life. We all are Miss Susie. Like we're all these characters in these things, and that's the point of highlighting them. It's just reminding us that if this is what we want to choose into, if this is who we want to be, if this is what we're committed to with our actions, like these are the steps to get there. And these are the characters that you can choose to be or choose not to be.
Choose not to be. Yeah, that's the best part. It's choice.
Yeah.
And you're going to get whatever you need from choosing each one.
Right.
That's the shitty part.
Do you want to expand on that real quick? This is something that's going to be so good, and I want to hear it from you. When you say you get whatever you need from both characters, because
depending on which one you choose, you chose it for a reason,
right?
And you're getting exactly what you need out of that character. And so, if it's a victim character, it's because you probably are getting some type of attention from being the victim. You get doted on. There are some things about certainty with being a victim. It's certain these certain things are going to happen, and so it's one of the I always give Ronnie props for this. It's the worst thing he ever taught me.
Yeah.
Like no matter what I do, or no matter what I'm doing, or no matter where I'm at, or no matter who I'm with, all of those things, I am getting exactly what I need from that. And then I have to look at the fact of why am I needing this? And that's where it gets real shitty, right? It's like when you have to get introspective there and be like, so I was with somebody, I was in a meeting or something, and somebody brought up the benefit of, and it was something bad. And they're like, well, there is no benefit. And I'm like, no, there's a benefit to everything. And I was with Dustin. I think it was in one of his meetings. And the girl kind of had this weird look. I go, yeah, that's the shitty part. Is there's literally a benefit to everything, even things that we think are bad. We wouldn't do it as a human, period, if there wasn't some benefit, whether it's a twisted benefit, whether it's like, we have to go, wow, I can't believe I'm that person right now. Okay, great that you were self-aware to be able to go inside and be like, that's not somebody that I want to be. Okay, well, if that's not somebody that I want to be, then I need to change my choice, right? Because if you didn't want to, you wouldn't.
Right.
Like we don't do things we don't want to do. Most of the time. Like we have to tell ourselves, I don't want to get into this cold water right now. Well, okay, I'm going to overlook that, right? And I'm going to do it anyway. That takes a lot.
Right.
I don't know anybody that I know that cold plunges that says every day they're like, I'm just so excited to get in there. They're not. Like I've done it for 2 years. I'm not excited. Right. I don't get in it every time either. There are times where I walk away. I'm like, nope, I'm good today. Even though I know it's better for me, there's benefits to it. I've proven to myself there's benefits to it. I've tracked the data, all the things, right? There's some days where I'm just like, I'm good. And then I have to go about my day going, well, you weren't good. You probably should have just done it. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'll do it when I get home, right? And so, like, we don't do things that we don't really ultimately aren't getting something out of. And so that's, to me, why it's shitty.
The worst thing you ever taught me. I love that. And I like the part that you said clarity. And for me, I hear the word control is when we have an identity or we attach to an identity, we anchor to an identity, is then there's certain, or the word was certainty. Sorry, not clarity, certainty. Then we have certainty because we are projecting, we know what to expect versus working on getting better if we choose it, right? Choice to pursue things that are challenging. And I think that's very fascinating from that standpoint is really if you're changing or growing or evolving, you're literally transitioning a part of your identity or changing identity in certain parts.
You are, because certainty and even mediocre stuff is still better to our brain
Yeah, because you get dopamine, right?
Yeah,
You
than
get
uncertain stuff.
it's like eating food is like this is what we're talking about. Eating food is a parasympathetic thing. It's rest, digest, and regenerate because the blood vessels in there dilate. Like you're eating, so that's why people eat when they're stressed. They call it stress eating.
It's so good.
Yeah, donuts. That donut thing that Chris posted yesterday was so funny. He's like, I ate a carrot and choked on it. That donut would never do it.
That's right. It wouldn't have. Should be eating the donut, dang it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that's something that we could definitely dive into on the next episode. And I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but I will create a separate video in front of this. This video will be on my channel, Mateo Franco DC. We do these twice monthly, so about every 2 weeks we'll have one of these out. Next one's going to be on Greg's channel. Greg, what's your channel name? I'm going to put it in
the Degenerate Mentor.
Yeah,
it's a lot to say.
This podcast is really sweet. Obviously, you guys heard him speak. He's my business coach. I learn a ton through him. That's why we do these calls. And he's a good friend too. So very grateful for you. And 2 weeks, we'll post it on your channel. But sweet. We have a lot, I think, from this one that we can build on too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's why I like conversations are just easier.
Yeah. And they're fun.
Yeah.
We're learning I learned so much, but I know our conversation earlier, we're both learning a ton in the content and just, I mean, for me, I think this is going to be sweet to look back on in like 10 years, even if no one watches it, just to get to see the evolution of like our friendship, but also who we are as individuals. Yeah,
and see how we change because our perceptions are going to change too. Like what is a matter of fact today might not be matter of fact 5 years from now.
Right.
And I always think it's funny that people are like, well, you changed your view. It's like, well, you should. If you evolve and grow as a person, Peter Attia says it. They're like, well, you used to say this about saunas. He's like, I know, but now there's different data. There's different research. I've put people through it. I've done it myself. Like the worst part about scientists is they never change their mind.
Right.
The ego gets in the way of looking at new data. And it's like, well, hold on. What if we look at this differently? What is it telling us now? What does this trial say? What does this meta say? What is this? And then it's like, well, you have to be a complete fucking idiot to be like, well, nope, I'm still going to believe that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like doing these things because, like, who knows what we think 10 years from now. 10 years from now, I'll be 60 as well. So I might have a completely different perspective on life in general.
Yep. We can change our mind. That's
yeah.
The beautiful part about that, too, the science part is, I always say science is the study of results. If your results have settled, the science has settled with it, right? And it should be expanding. And we are the science either way, so you might as well try the things that you believe in or value and see how it works out for you.
Yeah, I don't know why people get so afraid of that. Like, I'll try it, and then if it doesn't work, I'll just try something else.
Yeah. I think the alternative happens a lot, too, is they try it for too little. Oh, I ate a carrot for a day, right? And I didn't lose 20 pounds or whatever. It's like, my and maybe your frame's a little bit different, but my frame's 90 days, 30 to 90 days. That's got to be it's in that time frame is usually enough data points to know if something's going to produce the result that I desire over time.
Yeah.
If I'm not seeing change,
I mean, I have to know what the data says the result is supposed to come to. Right. We were talking this morning at the gym. Adam has the same nutrition coach as I do. He's been doing it about a month less than me. But people they're always ask, are you getting the result that you want? And I'm like, well, I'm getting the result that I am getting. Mm-hmm. I know that this plan is a long-term plan. The body comp change in the way that I'm eating is going to be completely different than the body comp change that I've ever done before. It's not going to be like I can lose weight quick and get shredded quick, but I lose size and strength. I don't want to lose size and strength, so I'm on a different plan. I eat twice as much as I've ever eaten on any kind of nutrition plan ever before. And so am I losing all the fat that I would like to see? No. Is my body changing in the way that I want it to change? Yes. Did it happen in a month? No. Do I know it's probably going to take 6 to 9 months? Yes. And I'm only 2 months in, so I have a long ways to go.
Right.
But I know that it's the right way for me to do it.
Right.
And for the goal that I have, like just to get abs is one thing. That's great. And I can do that. I can just cut out carbs like I always do. And I can drop to 172 and I'll be fine. But I've only dropped from like 195 to 192 in 2 months. But the lines are different. Mm-hmm. The shapes are different. The chest is different. The shoulders are different. And that's what I'm really geared towards. My metabolism's completely different. Like I eat more carbs now in one meal than I was eating all week when I would, when I would lean out before. So there's just a million ways to skin a cat, and my way is not always the right way.
Right. But
So
you're finding what's right for you. That's the big point.
yeah, and if I don't like it over time, then I'll just do something else.
You change, yeah.
I mean, I don't plan on going away soon, so.
That's right. That's what I was talking to someone the other day. My bias on that is mobility. For me, I'm working so hard on mobility. If I play the game of like 3 years and just worked on mobility to make sure all the joints in my body move well, and I could spend the rest of my life shaping as long as I continue those mobility practices. And that would be, in my mind, a very successful health life from a functional standpoint of mobility.
We were on a hike at the beginning of the week, and we were coming down, and I slipped. And Brian, my buddy, was behind me, and he was singing James Brown because they literally went into the splits, right? Like a runner's lunge split, all the way down to the ground. And we got back up, and we kept going. But if I didn't have mobility, if I was a normal person that doesn't have mobility, that doesn't stretch, work out the way that I work out, like that would have been, I would have rolled my ankle on the left side and pulled probably both sides of my groin on the way down. And for me, it was nothing. It was just like a dance move real quick, right? And then we had another 30 minutes of hiking. No big deal. But that wouldn't have happened for the normal 50-year-old, right? That doesn't do those things. And so mobility is just, and that's the goal. Like, I mean, I love the working out part anyway, but my goal is to be like, yeah, if I want to live to be 100, 120 years old, I want to be mobile till I'm 90 to 100. Like mobile. Like not walking the street like I see hunched over, just walking because they've been told if they don't do something, they're going to be dead.
Right.
Like still hiking the Grand Canyon at 75, 80 years old. That mobile.
And it's fully possible. Like those things 100%. Are like, yeah, it's like you take care of this stuff, and it's always adding life to your years to your life in return. I think that's one of the things is, well, I see at gyms, I'll be super judgmental here, and I think a lot of CrossFit has a lot of value in this actually, but the opposite of what I see at the gym is we go strengthen the things that we're already good at, and this is a very common life principle too, right? We just do the shit that we're good at, and it's like cool, that'll serve you to an extent. But if I'm already strengthening the muscle, like I'm doing this 24/7, right? We're hunching, we're doing this 24/7. Why does it make sense to spend the majority of my time on this side of my body when I can be working the other side, countering that out, building mobility, stimulating regeneration? And that's where I do, for my limited understanding of CrossFit, but that's where is its full body workout, which I think there's a lot of value in that versus you see the people that just have, I don't know if it's steroids or whatever, but they can't turn their head. And then they have chicken legs. And I'm like, dude,
every day's leg day.
Your legs are the things that is your mobility. Your legs are your mobility. But if
without
you're happy, like no hard feelings.
People that don't have them that can get from A to B, but it's not optimal.
Right. And then you see them when they get older. Yeah. That's my super judgmental point of this. And if you're happy, all the power to you. There's no rooting for you. You don't have to do it like our way, my way. It's just my assessment, and I'm like, man, I just don't want that.
Me either.
So, well, cool. Well, I'll let you get going. We'll hop on the next one in a couple weeks, but I'm excited to post it on your channel. I'll leave links below, and if you guys haven't hit the like and subscribe, make sure to do that now. Awesome. If you're listening to this, that means you completed this episode. If you have a friend or someone that you're thinking of currently, please go ahead and just share this episode with them or connect them to our channel so they know where we're at, whether it's on podcast or the video format. Connect them with our channel. This may be the disruption they need to disrupt them out of an undesigned life into a well-designed life filled with meaning, purpose, and passion. I will see you all in the next episode.